Hey everybody, short little update on the 76J10. Probably I promise it's not going to be like a 10-minute long video. Just wanted to show you guys I got my leaf spring, and I'm definitely going to have to order a second one. So I just found out, I'm an idiot. Sometimes you shouldn't really listen to people because let me just get to the bottom of this. So this spring is part number 97485 from Dorman, and I know everybody's like, oh, Dorman. Well, nobody makes these springs. Dorman is a huge supplier, so they're made by a third party. And if you look at where they're made, in the United States, below the barcode down there. This thing came from Pennsylvania. The company that made the springs for my Wagoneer that I bought 5 years ago was Dayton Parts or Stanley Spring up in Pennsylvania. If this came from Pennsylvania, then it's probably being made by the same company. They just are partnering with Dorman now because Dorman is a huge supplier. So that means Dorman can get a lot of these springs out all over the country now, or advertise it everywhere. So because I'm noticing it's just everywhere now on the internet, all kinds of websites, Amazon, etc. When I got these springs, I had to dig for like months to try to find them. And now you can just go on Amazon, type in what leaf spring you need, and it's there. So anyway, so I'm definitely not questioning the quality of this because it's the same exact freaking spring from Stanley as the one I got on this. But the problem is here, I mentioned this in the prior video. My Jeep is an 8-foot J10. The spring on it is a 4-pack. This one is 4 plus that bottom flat plate, the overload or whatever. The weight capacities are the same. Mine is 1165, this one's 1150. The problem is the eyelet bolt right here to the center pin on this one is 26 inches. From the center pin to the rear eyelet bolt is 31 inches, okay? So remember that, 31 and 26. Mine is 25 and a quarter and 31 and 3/4, which means the rear is longer than this one, and the front is shorter than this one. So that means it's actually pulling the axle forward because there's more length in the rear than there is in the front. This one, because there's more in the front and less in the rear, should pull the axle back. Now, everybody was telling me that if there's more in the front of this one, then it'll pull the axle forward. But if you think about it and you use your brain, if there's more length in the front, it'll pull the axle back, not pull it forward or push it back. It won't pull it forward. I just called Stanley Spring to confirm. They told me, I gave them the part number. He checked the length. He said the same thing. Since there's more length in the front of this one, then it'll push the axle back by 3/4 of an inch. That is not a big deal. And the reason why, at least in my mind, is not a big deal. And the reason why is because when you measure the wheel on my truck, damn bees. Sorry, I got stung by like 6 yellow jackets the other day, so now I'm kind of afraid of bees. When you measure the wheel to the fender flare on my Jeep in the front, or sorry, in the rear, it's 3 inches in the front of it. If you measure it from the wheel to the rear of the fender flare, it's 4 inches. And if you look at the axle, it's actually forward more on my Jeep. It's not centered in the wheel well. It looks kind of odd. If I push the axle back by 3/4 of an inch, then that means the front and the rear should be almost identical in positioning, and the axle would be more centered. The only difference is it's going to take the drive shaft, because the drive shaft is like a piston. It can pull in, out, for when you're driving on the road and the suspension, flexes, or when you're going off-roading and the axle's dropped, and so forth and so forth. If it pulls the axle out by 3/4 of an inch, I don't see how that's a big deal. I'm pretty sure the drive shaft has many, many, many inches in order to flex, you know what I mean? So, if anything, this is just going to center my axle. It's going to make it look better. So, I'm sure it'll change the driveline angle by just a slight tad hair, but I don't see how that's going to affect anything. It's not like I'm lifting it by like 5 inches, because if you lift it, then it's definitely going to change the driveline angle, but this is just stock height. So if that's the case with centering my axle, then I don't need to get that top plate and the bottom plate. And what I mean by that is The U-bolts that bolt this thing together bolt into a top plate. They sell offset top plates, so that means the top plate has 3 bolt holes, one for here, one here, and one here. The bottom one is the same thing, one here, one here, one there. What that does is it allows me to move the spring forward or back by an inch in order to keep the original driveline angle that my Jeep had. But those plates are $50 for 2 of them, and I need 4. So that's $100 for a plate that's like 6 inches long, when this leaf spring was $130. That's way, way, way expensive. And do I really need to do that? Do I really need to keep the original driveline angle if the axle is already not centered? I want it to be center. And if it's going to be centered, then all I have to do is bolt this thing up. Now the problem is I only ordered 1 spring because I was going to originally order those plates to keep the axle positioning the same. And I was going to keep my other rear leaf spring because it's not broken. Now the problem is, if I put this on and I keep my other rear leaf spring, it's going to push the axle back on one side, but the axle's still going to be forward on the other side. So instead of straight, it's going to be crooked like this. So that's going to pull the vehicle, it's going to wear the tires out. So that means I have to order another spring to keep the axle positioning the same on both sides, so it doesn't cause any, like, you know, abnormal wear or pull or anything like that. So not a big deal. I have enough money to order 1 more spring, I think. But that money was going to be towards finishing my bed. I need to buy another tube of seam sealer because I'm about to sand my bed and put the roll-on bed liner on. But I'll probably just, you know, wait another week until I get paid again, and I'll just order another leaf spring. So another problem is I need U-bolts for the leaf springs too, and those are that's like another $50. So it's getting really expensive. I hate to say this, but in the last 3 days I've spent like $900 on my Jeep. Ugh, it sucks. So anyway, I'll let you guys go. I just wanted to show you that these Dorman springs are made in the United States. They're not made in China, so don't be afraid to order them. Thanks for watching.